meeting, our October school board meeting for the Ogden School District. We're grateful to have those in person. We have Cameron from our technology department, 5 board members and present, 2 board members, Jeremy and Jennifer, virtually with us. Our superintendent, our business administrator, Paula, who runs everything, and we're grateful to have those present. And we have the district staff, many of them were joining online as well as others in the community. So we're grateful to have you present. Just a couple of items before we have our moment of reverence and our Pledge of Allegiance. As we looked at some of our agenda items prior to meeting here, we found that there are 4 items under action item, part of our agenda that are most worthy to be on the consent calendar. Those are items 10C, 10D, 10E, and 10G. So those will be moved up to the consent calendar when the time comes. We will now begin with a moment of reverence by JM and a pledge followed by Karen Harrop. So JM.
Thank you, Don. Loving Heavenly Father, we come to you this hour asking for your blessing and help as we are gathered together. We pray for guidance in the matters at hand and ask that you would clearly show us how to conduct our Ogden School District work with a spirit of joy and enthusiasm. Give us your guidance to find ways to excel our work and best serve our students, employees, and community. Help us to continue to work together and encourage one another towards excellence. We ask that we each would challenge one another to reach higher and farther to be the best we can be. We ask this in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen, and thank you, JM. We truly do appreciate that. We'll jump right in now to celebrating student achievements, and I believe, Jerry, you're going to lead us in this and Students of the Month.
That's correct, Board President. Thank you very much. And thank you for your consideration given our current climate of health and safety guidelines for our students to be open to the idea of still proceeding with this tradition in an unorthodox format, but a format that I think will work well for everyone involved. So we will jump right into our Student of the Month celebrations. We'll proceed in alphabetical order through our high schools and conclude with our Bridges program Student of the Month. So first, to recognize and present our Ben Lomond High School Student of the Month, we'll welcome Assistant Principal Jen Thornell.
Hello, and thanks for having me. I would like to talk about Maya Anderson. I know this is a different format, but I'm still glad to be here, and this is one of my favorite things to do. Maya is a 12th grader at Ben Lomond. She participates in many activities. She's in Latinos in Action. She's a member of our soccer team and captain. She's a member of our cheer squad and a member of our basketball team. She has many interests, including advocating for animals, shopping, makeup tutorials, and social justice. So her school interests are being a scrub tech or a vet tech, into college, and then once in college, pursuing a veterinarian degree or a job in healthcare. And that's her goals, to either be a veterinarian or working in healthcare. We're glad to have Maya there, and she's a wonderful member of our student body.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Principal Thornell. We will next welcome Principal Benji Carrier from George Washington High School to present our Eagles Student of the Month.
All right, it's my pleasure to present Grace Gallegos. Grace is this year, some of her accomplishments are that she's had 100% attendance so far, a 4.0 GPA. Last year, she got a 30 on her ACT. And her teachers report that just quite honestly, she's successful at whatever it is that she endeavors in. Her school interests are she is an active member of our student council. She loves being a part of that group and is interested in organizing activities for the whole student body. And the academic subject that she loves the most is U.S. history and government, as well as science. She enjoys reading and hanging out with her friends. Currently, her book of interest is historical fiction, which her social studies teacher is elated about. Her goals are that she plans to pursue a nursing career and hopes to work in a rural, underserved area, maybe even working abroad. She is happiest when she is helping people and expects this to be a fulfilling career for her. We love Grace. She's amazing.
Thank you, Benji. It sounds like she is. Great.
Thank you very much, Principal Carrier. She beat me on the ACT composite, I think, if I remember right, if I can remember that far back. So she is definitely a star. And next we will be happy to hear from Jeannie Elder, our assistant principal at Ogden High School, to present the Tigers Student of the Month.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me to join you this evening. I have the pleasure of introducing Ogden High's Student of the Month, Allie Saxton. Allie Saxton is a 12th grader. She is currently pursuing an international baccalaureate diploma. She has a 3.8 GPA, and she was a prima soloist in the Sugar Plum Fairy in the Nutcracker. She has been on the cheer team for 2 years and is the co-captain on the pom team. Last year, she came in 3rd place in the multimedia section of the district art show. She enjoys biology, English, and chemistry, and also likes dance, ballet, reading, and traveling. Some of her goals include graduating with a bachelor's degree in either biology, chemistry, or genetics. One day she hopes to travel to Thailand and then ultimately work in the research and science field. Several of her teachers had lots of wonderful things to say about her. Mr. Dunn said, Allie is a great student who always works hard to succeed. She is driven in the classroom and helps other students see things through a different light. I've really enjoyed having her in my class. Coach Christie said, while working the last 2 years with Allie, it's undeniable that she possesses natural leadership skills. She's a positive athlete and has maturity well beyond her years. Ms. Schlegel mentioned, she's always so positive in Spanish class, and even when she knows she didn't do well, she confronts her anxieties and fights for things. Congratulations, Allie.
Thank you, Ms. Elder.
Thank you very, very much. And we will conclude with our Bridges Program Student of the Month, presented by Jessica Adams.
Hi, thank you for having me tonight. I'm so excited to talk to you about our Student of the Month, Alex Munsterman. He's in 10th grade, and he has demonstrated a great deal of social maturity during the beginning of this school year. He's made great strides in managing his behavior during the school day, and he has made great strides in self-regulation of his behavior, even during challenges. Alex loves to come into school and say hi to everybody. He comes to our offices, says hello, then he gets started on his work. He won 2nd place in the elementary cross-country race. He received the Golden Bear Award for Mount Fort Junior High. He really enjoys many types of different physical education. He loves playing basketball, football, baseball, soccer, dodgeball, and running. And if you ask him, he'll tell you he's the best at every single one of them. He Some of his goals is he wants to attend college and study music. He would like to eventually become a famous pop singer. He would also like to study acting and possibly get a part in an Avengers movie. And one of his greatest specialties is dancing to Michael Jackson.
It would be a thriller to see that. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all of our administrators and teachers for helping us introduce a new format for celebrating our Students of the Month. And that concludes our Student of the Month celebrations for October. Thank you, President and board members.
Thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate that. So next we'll have item 4B, Superintendent Celebration.
Thanks, Board President. I just want to reiterate how neat our students are, and visiting each of them and visiting them at their school. I did want you to know that I passed on the board's congratulations as well to them, recognizing that we are in different circumstances. And while the format may have looked different, our appreciation and the board's appreciation remains the same for who they are and the recognition they received. For my first celebration, I just want to turn some time over to Carrie Maxon. She's going to talk about the art that we have here in the boardroom. As you recall, right before we went into school dismissal back in March, we started bringing in student art to the boardroom to highlight the talent of our students and how pleased we are that it still remains a central focus to the education and the enrichment of our students. So Carrie, please explain what we have here in this boardroom that's just really beautifying this space.
I'm so excited to do that. So we have this very professional art display this month, thanks to our district maintenance department. Erica Lyon and Kelly Muncie both framed this artwork and handed it to me, and I went, I don't think a thumbtack will hang that up. So I had a lot of help to get that up. I first want to express the thanks of the visual arts teachers. They recently received a Brownie Foundation grant through the foundation for $25,000. And they said with COVID and students needing individual supplies, they can't share, and that this will give them many opportunities to be more innovative and give them just a great education. Also, if you don't know, our community and the foundation did a campaign to collect individual art kits for all of our elementary students who are taking art. And it's about $25 a kit, and every student right now in art has that kit. We still need to do next semester's kits, but the community, OPD, the fire department, the health department, so many people in the community donated, and the foundation made up the difference so that every student could have their own art kit. So that's just been a total tremendous help. Art is super important. Behind the board right now, we have on the left side, the north side of the room, we have George Washington's artwork. And let me find, so we have, again, Grace Galejos, who was already mentioned today. She did the tree with the pink blossoms. She said she's been drawing since she was 6 years old. And in her words, I like working in mixed media. The things that inspire me are scenes from movies, cinematography. When I am not drawing art, I play video games, read, and just relax. I aspire to travel a lot, to see different places and cultures, and especially to be able to help people. I would like to become a nurse in a rural setting. And we already heard that about her and heard what a great student she is. I have to mention that Kelly Muncie said he's so impressed with the high quality work that the students are producing this year, and he was really excited to share them. Then we have that wolf howling towards the sky. It's a black and white picture. McKaylee Franson. She said, I grew up with my grandma and dad who both created art, so I was surrounded by it. I like the anime style of art. I like to draw animals and nature. Drawing is so calm when I grow up, I want to own an exotic sanctuary to care for wildlife who may not make it in the wild. I also like hiking, reading, and just being outdoors. Then we have Riley Thornton, who has the artwork, The Sun Sees Your Body, the Moon Sees Your Soul. I've been drawing since 9th grade. I draw because I'm bored. I mostly like to do pencil sketches. However, I now like the white drawing on black paper, as you see in this artwork, and want to do more. Drawing is a way to express my feelings and emotions without words. I usually draw how I am feeling at the time, so it is important to me. In my future, I would like to open a bakery. I also like skateboarding. And then on the other side of the windows towards the south, Arlen Araujo has 2 works of art. One is a brightly colored contemporary work, and the other is a flower sketch. She said, since I was little, I was always drawing and painting. I work from my imagination, but I also love nature, trees, fresh air, and all the animals. As I grow older, I want to become an artist, learn more about it, and get more into it. I also like movies and taking walks in nature. And then on the far right, we have 2 art pieces by Destiny Trejo, and one is Cloud Watching and one is Forgotten Friends. Destiny, you have probably met because she is a national winner. Right now, she has a piece of art on display in Washington, D.C. She was supposed to be able to go there to be celebrated, but because of COVID, she wasn't able to. She's Erica Lyons' student. Ben Lohman she sent me all these pictures of their hallways just filled with artwork. So next time you're at Ben Lohman, please notice the artwork, and I'll send some of it to Paula to get in the bulletin because it's very beautiful. They have a new art teacher there. So they have a very powerful team. And so Destiny is very inspired by the children she works with. I guess she has a job where she works with children, and they talk about watching clouds. And so the one with the clouds is the shape of a bunny. And one of the children had told her that their mom told them that clouds are just bunnies running across the sky. And that's her inspiration. And then there's Forgotten Friends. And this is about imaginary friends. And the character is, let's see, she purposely made this friend cute and scary at the same time to show how monsters can be perceived as scary. But when you're a kid, they are not. So thank you for letting me have this time to show off what's going on in the schools. It's incredible. And I'm just so glad that art wasn't taken out of the school during this critical time. So thank you.
Thank you.
Question.
Go ahead.
I'm Carrie Joyce. I just have a quick question. So this art that's currently displayed, I assume goes back to the school or the student?
Yes, I'll take it back to the school and then pick up more. I already have.
Will it be displayed at the schools too? Or?
I am sure they will. I know a couple of the pieces have been displayed, but yeah, I don't know. I can ask.
Okay.
I mean, we're going to have virtual shows online and try to keep up on our website to have current artwork there. But I'm sure Kelly will hang it up there. I know Erica has all her student work displayed.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we'll have something new next month.
Okay. Susan, go ahead.
Hi, Carrie.
Hi.
I just think you're doing such a great job, and art is so important in the kids' lives. My question is, in the art kits, what is contained in each one?
So they have individual crayons, scissors, a small pack of pastels, watercolors. They have a sketch kit, glue, everything I could think of. I made a list and the community pulled it together. So I think that's about it.
Okay.
Some Sharpies, because they use Sharpies for outlining. So it's pretty comprehensive for a kit.
Yeah.
And then they're in cute, bright colored drawstring bags.
Oh, nice. That's nice. Thank you.
Great. Thanks very much. We appreciate that. So
One more thing, thanks Carrie, and we do celebrate our students and our teachers that inspire them to further refine and grow that talent. One that I certainly appreciate and our commitment to.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. One other item, Governor Herbert came out and made a declaration today. May have actually came out last night, but it arrived in inboxes this morning that reads, whereas the vision, dedication, and determination of a school principal provides the stable force behind schools, whereas principals have many roles in the education of their students and are entrusted with the dedication and development of young people, and whereas we recognize the outstanding elementary, middle level, and high school principals who have succeeded in providing high-quality learning opportunities for students, now, therefore, I, Gary R. Herbert, Governor of the great state of Utah, do hereby declare October 2020 as School Principal Recognition Month in Utah. So a wonderful tribute, celebration. We recognize the work of our administrators, the hard work that it is, and inspiring, supporting teachers, making sure our students receive the education academically and social emotionally that they need. So we, with Governor Herbert, recognize and celebrate our principals and the work that they do. With that, Board President, concludes my celebrations.
So they found out about this from you today?
They will.
They will.
This is the first announcement. We received it today, and we'll also be expressing our well wishes and thanks, gratitude to them.
Okay, appreciate that. As was mentioned at the beginning of our meeting, that action items 10C, D, E, and G were moved to our consent calendar. Board members have had an opportunity to review the consent calendar for the month of October. Are there any other items or questions that were not discussed? If not, then I'll be looking for a motion to approve the October consent calendar.
So moved.
Motion was made by Susan Richards. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Doug Barger, second that. Those in favor of approving the consent calendar with the changes that were noted earlier, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Great, thank you. Unanimous. So now we're going to move right back to, let's see if I don't skip over anything. Superintendent's report.
Yep. Thanks again, Board President. Just want to bring a couple things to the board's attention. One, an operational issue. As we know, our teachers are working just incredibly hard, supporting one another, supporting the needs of students. One thing that has been occurring as we recognize that heavy lift, there's also a shortage of substitutes. And so what usually happens is when a teacher needs to be out, and they do for various reasons, and we need to call in a substitute. If substitute's not available, what usually ends up happening are other teachers will cover. Board Member Barker knows this all too well. You cover another teacher's class who is absent, so that the students have a teacher with them taking care of their needs. Typically what happens is a coverage slip, is what it's called, is given to that teacher for covering that class. Those slips, as they accrue, can then be used at a time by the teacher to take some time off themselves. As you can imagine, though, interestingly enough, sometimes we see coverage slips that come in, 6 years ago, from 8 years ago, from 10 years ago. There's these pieces of paper sitting in the teacher's drawer. A lot of time they don't get used because the teacher doesn't want to take an absence from the classroom as well and use this coverage slip, even though they may. There's that obligation. So we are adjusting procedurally how we address coverage slips to recognize the hard work of the teachers and give them some options. And so effective next month, all those coverage slips that have been accrued will be submitted to the administrative assistant at each campus. And they need to do that by November 15th. And we're going to send all this information out first thing in the morning, district-wide. The business office and HR will document all the teacher coverage leave in Alio. Alio is the same place that we record their sick leave, their personal leave, and so forth. And now they're going to have this coverage slip leave bank that helps track that. Educators will be able to see their accumulated leave in that space, along with their sick and personal leave. And all teacher coverage leave will be paid out semi-annually if they don't use it. In other words, they've accrued it, they sacrificed their time, and if they so desire, they may receive pay for having made that. And we feel like this will be in honor to them and the commitments they're making to cover for one another, to make sure the students have a teacher in the classroom. And again, we'll do that semi-annually in June and then again in December. So if you think about it, if an educator has a day and a quarter, right, or 1.25 days of teacher coverage in December, they'll be paid out for 10 hours at their regular daily rate. And so they'll have that option to be able to do that. So we feel this is a good way, like I said, to honor our teachers, to make sure that one, if they're going to sacrifice, say, a preparation period to cover another classroom, they'll accrue that leave. It'll help be organized in our ALEO system. And if it accrues such, we'll pay them for that time.
Wonderful.
I think it'll be a great way to honor them. So any questions on that myself, Zane, or Jessica could answer?
So you said, is it typically class time or is it hourly or?
Yeah, typically class time for those
Okay.
coverages. Yep. And as you can imagine right now, they're
that
being
work?
accrued.
Sure.
Yes.
How does that work? Because I know when we used to cover each other, you know, instead of having my 24 students, I had 48. I mean, now with your COVID, you know, we've got to.
Yeah, and we're not, to that point, we're not putting to that end 48. And so for elementaries, there's different strategies, so we're not packing a classroom full of kids. But where there still is coverage, where we're not sacrificing space, right, and maintaining physical distancing, we're making those accommodations as well through different or other personnel on a campus.
Is
I
it
like
happen-
this because
oh,
we
sorry.
used to not even end up using them.
Yeah,
Like you said,
they sit in
yeah.
your desk and
Yeah, we
you
didn't
don't
use
use
them.
them, right, and over time.
Sorry.
That's okay. Is it happening for online too? If there's a, I haven't thought about it.
Well, yeah, okay, so I'm just playing it out, a scenario out, yeah. So in the event that someone isn't available to cover that, and we have another teacher to cover for the online kids, then yeah, that would.
That might be teaching the same
It could be very appropriate, yeah, applicable, yes.
Good. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Another thing I want to just bring to your attention, I'm going to go and share my screen here. You may have received, or you should have received, an email regarding accreditation. We have just a brief video here that goes into what accreditation is. When we sat down, probably over, well, almost a year ago now, we used to do accreditation at the secondary level, and the video is going to explain that, and that was each individual school. And it required a lot of the school to do it, right? It's required, it's a state board rule, schools have to go through accreditation. Some allowances in there. There's been one other district that has gone to systems-wide accreditation. We really felt like that's what we needed to do because we are establishing a system where all schools and students, regardless of the school they attend, are empowered through education, that excellence through education. And so we wanted to say, okay, from a district-wide perspective, how are our systems working in meeting those needs? And so we launched down the path of going into district-wide accreditation. I'll say we've had a fantastic accreditation team. Assistant Superintendent Chad Carpenter has taken the lead on that, and they've really done the yeoman's work to get us into a fantastic place. Accreditation will be that first week in November. You've received an email, it's kind of a save a date, save a time. The accreditation team, they come from local, they come from the national stage as well. We'll be doing focus group interviews. That email should have, or you would have received it from Jen Carter. Assistant Superintendent Carpenter will also be sending out, perhaps through Jen, calendar invite, just confirming that time. So if you haven't seen that email, or you don't see a calendar invite soon, asking for your availability and interest in participating, please let myself, Chad, or Jen Carter know. But that accreditation team has also been staffed by Executive Directors Sarah Roberts, Tim Peters, Ms. Jolovich-Moats, Jessica Bennington, Adam McMickle, Student Achievement, Jen Carter, as I mentioned, Chair Bates, our Public Information Officer, and Casey Bowden, our Chief Technical Officer, in gathering evidences, filling out the paperwork, and making sure that we're in a great place for accreditation. So I just quickly will share this screen that will go into a little more depth as to what accreditation is. And you should still, yep, it's populating. So if you go to, and this has been published on our main page, if you have 3 buttons down here. There's accreditation process. What is accreditation? Wondering if I need to do anything, Cameron, with the volume.
I'm looking at the screen. Is that the same screen?
Nope. Here we go. Let's try this.
Ogden School District has an intense focus on students and addressing their individual needs. In November, Ogden School District will go through its first system-wide accreditation process. The accreditation process is used at all levels of education, from colleges and universities to individual schools and districts. It is recognized for its ability to effectively drive improved student performance and continuous improvement in education. Ogden School District chose the accreditation process as a way to honor and embrace the concept of continuous improvement outlined in our strategic plan, Nexus Elevated. We are excited to welcome a team of volunteers from Cognia, a global network of enthusiastic educators who are ready to help strengthen our schools so that all students have the opportunities that knowledge brings. During our official accreditation review in November, this team of educators from across Utah and the nation will spend 4 days learning about Ogden School District, visiting with students, parents, teachers, administrators, and other community members in a virtual review. The Cognia team will visit schools, interview employees, leaders, parents, and students. They will review data and district policies and practices as part of their information gathering process. Following the review, Cognia will provide the school district feedback on what is working well and where it can improve. The accreditation process with Cognia provides an objective system of accountability to ensure we keep the promises made in our strategic plan. Our strategic framework, known as Nexus Elevated, was established for 2 strategic goals: improving literacy performance and increasing graduation rates, and is built upon 3 anchors of work: the academic anchor, socio-emotional learning anchor, and talent development anchor serve as the foundation for the district's continued pursuit of empowering excellence through education. Nexus Elevated provides a clear framework to ensure resources are aligned with a results-oriented focus. Ogden School District has been a leader in the state in student academic growth and has demonstrated consistent academic progress. The system-wide accreditation is significant because it indicates to our community that every school in Ogden School District is enacting Nexus Elevated and has met and maintains high standards of excellence. In the past, only secondary schools went through an accreditation process. That process was school-specific and did not allow for an opportunity to see how those schools performed collectively as part of our entire system. The Cognia accreditation system is based on 3 standards: leadership, learning, and resources. These 3 standards align well with Nexus Elevated. The leadership standard is designed to guide a school district's commitment to its purpose and direction. The learning standard aligns with our academic and SEL anchors in creating conditions where students succeed academically and thrive emotionally. The resource standard emphasizes the importance of professional learning, stressing the fact that our employees play a central role in our overall success. In Ogden School District, we are proud of the improvement journey we are on and are so excited to participate in this district-wide accreditation review. Please join me in welcoming this team of professional educators to Ogden School District.
So we do look forward to welcoming this team from Cognia to help, as was mentioned in the video. They're going to provide us some fantastic and thorough feedback as to how our system is delivering on our promises. And we'll, in part of that feedback, we'll illustrate the things that we're doing well and where we still have room to grow and opportunities to do so. As a result of that, when we do receive those reports, we'll certainly circle back with the board, perhaps a work session if it's appropriate and if the board would like, to review what it is that we've learned and what our next steps are as a result of receiving this feedback, as we are committed to being action-oriented, results-driven. So we'll be able to do that. So looking forward to that accreditation. Just a reminder, check the emails and watch your calendars for an invite to help in the process to go through this accreditation and this systems review. So with that, Board President, concludes my report.
Thank you. You want to tell them about Ogden High?
Thank you. Ogden High girls soccer just won. The girls soccer, they won 2-1, and that was a semifinal game. So they'll be playing for the state championship this Saturday, I believe, down at Rio Tinto, if I'm not mistaken. So congratulations to the Lady Tigers and for a fantastic season and a great win, and looking for another state title.
Thank you, Superintendent. Business administrators, Mr. Wilson, you.
Thanks, Don. Let's see, I think I'll present. So if I want to share my entire screen, do I hit share? Cool. I've been running some numbers. I'm not sure why that's not showing. One of the things I did today was I was curious to see what was going on with our there we go. Out of district enrollment. And so this is all color coordinated, if you will. And what this chart shows is how many students are enrolled in which LEAs. So you can see there are several now in the state. But we've got a lot of kids that are attending Da Vinci, 561, 238 in Greenwood. This is as of today. Some of these charters I hadn't seen before. There's, I think, been a few pop up this last year. Leadership Learning Academy, 380 kids. Maria Montessori, 130. OPA, 831 students. We do have a couple of kids attending other high schools around the state. Blue Peak High is actually a Tooele school district online charter, I think. I think it must be an online charter, but it's a Tooele school district thing. And Venture Academy, anyway, that all adds up to about 3,245 kids. And also I have gone in and updated my spreadsheet for tracking and enrollment. And you can see where the fall enrollment numbers are for the different schools. I'm going to go in and hide columns so you can see. So You can see for each of the schools what the fall enrollment
No, we
numbers are
can't.
and how that compares
Okay.
across the years.
You just see Jennifer's picture.
Oh, I don't know why that is.
Now that we've had our October counts,
Huh.
do you have a breakdown?
Let me try again.
About 11,000.
There you go. So you can see each of the schools and what their enrollment is this year. And then I put a little graph down here. I'm not sure why that's not showing up. Anyway, you can see what the trend has been for average daily membership enrollment. I don't know why that graph's not showing up for the October 1 count, but we have a lot of negative numbers. If you compare our October 1 count with our average daily membership last year, that's down 700 students, and most of them are elementary. Not such a big deal in our funding for the current year, because we're guaranteed based on last year's ADM, but we could stand a big hit next year, barring some change in our enrollment. I don't expect we're going to see that. So anyway, I wanted you to be aware of what those numbers look like. If you're interested, I could be happy to share the information on these spreadsheets with you.
Please do.
I also track for each school graphically what their October 1st enrollment looks like, going back to 2008. So for each one of the schools, you can see what that is. I'd be happy to share that whole spreadsheet with you if you want to look at it. And so I'll do that this week. And the other thing I wanted to share with you is something we talked a little bit about in our budget committee meeting, but one of the things we talked about in the budget committee was our it's a state auditor thing that they give us to analyze what our risk. It's a risk assessment. And one of the things that helps score points on that, if you will, is if the board members have gone through and completed some training that the state auditor has out on their website. So I'll be pushing out to you sometime in the next month. A link to the state auditor's website, and this is it, where you can go in and they have this introductory training for school board members. And it's about an hour long. They've got several videos if you go into that. A video and then a little evaluation thing that you go when you're done. I think you get a certificate of completion. Jeremy has already gone through and done it. So if you want to find out what that's like, you could talk to him and see what that was. So anyway, that's something else that we'll be pushing out to you. But that's my report.
Thank you.
If you want, I could help Doug with the committee report.
Yeah, go on ahead.
We will when we get to that point.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I got a question about the enrollment. It's my understanding, or from what I've been hearing, is that most every district has seen a drop in enrollment with this whole COVID thing. Do you know, is the legislature having conversations about what they're going to do? Because, I mean, we're all going to be, every district, every school is going to be in a world of hurt if they don't do something different with this year's count since everybody's down. Is that not true?
I can speak to that, Zena.
Yeah, I'll let the superintendent speak to that.
Okay. You're right, board members Undle. Across the state, enrollments are down. First time there's been an enrollment dip in, I don't know, almost recorded history, but in Utah anyway. What the state board, and I have reached out and talked with a few state board staff members, they're looking to adjust when they're going to consider funding for next year. Typically, it is October 1st, but they are going to do a couple more enrollment counts in January, and they may even extend it into the spring. So the state board, in terms of looking at that funding, that funding model, is looking at some flexibility that typically hasn't been the case for the reasons you stated. There's another district nearby, I'll just say down south, but it's public knowledge. But anyway, Salt Lake School District is down 1,100 kids just in their elementaries as well. So we're seeing something that's going to be hard to account for once we emerge from the pandemic and what that impact may be. They may come back, they may not. It really depends. It's hard to understand. But reason to be concerned is Zane has expressed as to what does that look like for next year's budgets, predicated on past practice and how schools and districts are funded.
That answer your question, Jen?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Zane, for your report, superintendent as well. You'll just go ahead and forward those things to us. That would be great, including the link right there.
Yep.
All right, let's go quickly through our board committee reports. We have 2 of 3 this evening who have met since our last board meeting. First, we'll hear from policy law and then budget and finance.
So we were able to meet last Thursday for Policy and Law Committee. And as was previously discussed, and we voted on the second reading for the harassment, intimidation, and bullying policy. I assume that everybody's had the opportunity to read through those for that one. And we did not hear any additional feedback from any other board members on that one. And tonight we have first readings for 3 policies on public participation, safety program, and activities on school district property. And there are some concerns expressed by some board members, so we will address that in the November 12th meeting. Right?
And then the second reading will be
Yeah.
brought back. Okay.
We'll bring it back in the
12th?
November meeting.
I think it's
November
12.
12th.
Okay.
Yeah. That's it.
Thank you. Doug, if you'll leave.
Okay, well, we met on Monday. We went over the budgets, the district budgets and things there. So I also talked about the possibility, since we've had the shutdown because of electricity, looking at generators from the older schools. The newer schools have generators, where the older schools don't for that. So we've possibly look into, see what we can do to update those, to have that in case it ever goes down again like that, like we have. But for the budget side of it, we're gonna turn my time over to Zane and let him go over the budget stuff that he knows more about.
What I propose to do is we'll be having our audit report soon. So rather than do that tonight, I think I'll just kick that down the road, but just to let you know, we did go over our annual financial report with the committee in pretty good detail through each fund. And we're wrapping the audit up as we speak, and that should be pretty much done next week. And think we're still shooting to have the audit report first in December when we meet.
Is that it? Thank you. We have no one who is here this evening or who signed up for public participation, so we're going to jump into our action item, increasing student achievement. As was mentioned earlier, there's a few of those items that we moved up, but we'll now talk about action item 10A, adopt school name for new school where Horace Mann used to be. So I think, Jerry, you're going to lead us in that.
Well, strictly speaking, Horseman is still there.
That is true. That is true.
But yes, its lifespan is limited. As I was there visiting with some folks from the Ogden School Foundation earlier this week, it is impressive to see the new structure and the speed with which it is being constructed. Which brings us to the topic of what to call the new building. As a reminder for everyone, and I'll share my screen so that you can see this as well. In the summer of 2019, following some discussions about the new building, it had been decided that with the new building, we wanted to embrace a school name which aligns better with that actual neighborhood and represents that neighborhood more fully. Through some discussions, we arrived at the term East Ridge, the East Ridge of the Ogden neighborhood, or Ogden City, that in that neighborhood, which is a term already in use, and a term that we have embraced to use for the school name. There was still a question, though, however, even after arriving at a name for the school building, what would the mascot be? And so at that time, we reached out to the community to solicit feedback regarding options for a mascot. One of the options would be, of course, to continue with the present mascot Falcons. And then we gave a handful of other options for people to give feedback on. Based on that feedback, the two most popular responses among all constituent groups were Falcons and Raptors. So based on that, starting a couple of weeks ago with parent-teacher conferences happening at our elementary schools, we introduced this feedback form for stakeholders to provide additional feedback specifically on those two most popular mascots, Falcons and Raptors. As you can see, pretty simple, straightforward form, gave a description of the process to get us to this point, gave us the two options, Falcons and Raptors, and then give people an option, not required to complete this survey, but the option to list what stakeholder group they identify with. So far, since parent-teacher conferences, as you can see, we've received 130 responses, and the results of those responses are overwhelmingly Raptors. 3/4 of the respondents have said they prefer Raptors over Falcons. Now, though, when we dive into those responses, 90%, over 100 of those have come from our own students at the school. Only one community member so far has taken advantage of the opportunity to respond, 8 school employees and 4 parents. So this was presented to our parents. It's also linked on the homepage of the Horace Mann School website. This was presented to our constituents as an opportunity to provide feedback. It was noted that this isn't a vote to officially select the new mascot, simply an effort to gather feedback for the board to consider. At this point, the board really has 2 options. One would be take the feedback we've gotten right now, discuss as a board, And perhaps by our next board meeting or the upcoming work session in November, the board could announce an official position. The other option would be to consider the responses that we've gotten so far, the number and the constituent groups represented, and give the board the opportunity to say, we'd like some more feedback, in which case we can make one more assertive push to solicit feedback by reaching out directly to our parents in that community via email, asking for their feedback. Extend the window for feedback another week or two, and then at that point, return with the updated feedback to the board to consider making a final decision. No action, I believe, is necessary tonight on the part of the board, although doesn't mean you couldn't choose a specific direction, but certainly not required that the board makes any decision other than perhaps to discuss, do we want to continue gathering feedback on this matter or consider this feedback sufficient?
Jared, is there a time element that we should be considering as well?
There is, and thank you for asking. We've reached a point where our construction team at the site is starting to prepare for, they're not about to put a sign on the front of the building just yet, but we've reached a point where they're starting to prepare for those things, make orders for things that will be part of the actual construction design. And so time is a factor. I got a call, in fact, from Ken Crawford earlier this week asking if we had officially made that decision yet. So it's not something that's pressing in the sense that we need this decision made yesterday, but it is a consideration, and I think it would behoove us for the flow of the construction process to have a decision made by our next Board of Education regular session. That would be my recommendation, if not sooner.
All right, we have a few questions from board members. Joyce?
Jared, have you received any feedback regarding the name of the school?
Thank you for asking that as well. Officially in paper, hard copy form, no, I have not. However, I have discussed with Principal Harrison about the name change, and she has shared with me that a couple of residents have anecdotally have responded to her about the name change, saying, "Oh, I'm sad to see the name Horace Mann go. That's where I went, or I've lived here my whole life." So yeah, I'm a little sad to see that go. But no one has responded in as far as I've been made aware, in any fashion that would be considered angry or vehemently upset about the change. I think a lot of that simply goes back to the fact that the name does have bearing in public education, but doesn't have any direct local ties. And so it's really sentiment, it would be the driving force for anyone who isn't thrilled about a name change because, oh, I went to Horace Mann, that was my school. But I think people have generally embraced the concept of a new building, a new era in education in the neighborhood, and with that, a name that has some attachment to the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe.
So just to put in clarification, in terms of board policy, we had a great discussion about the name it's been a while, but there was never a formal board vote, which per policy, the board would need to vote on the name of the school. You could do that, and I'd probably recommend that you do that this evening. As far as the mascot, I don't know that according to board policy, there's a formal vote that needs to be taken on the mascot, although it could be, if there were opposition to it or there, something that didn't resonate with the board, you certainly reserve the right to consider and have influence on, obviously, the mascot.
But you didn't go through a process like you did with the mascot. for the name.
No.
So we introduced it to the community. There wasn't as,
Quite some time ago, right? When did
yeah, it's
this-
been a while. As Mr. Bates says, there really wasn't a pushback saying East Ridge. As has been noted, actually, I was in the school the other day and talked with the neighbor across the street. Many of them do refer to that area as a common, the East Ridge community. So it's a name that does resonate among the community as they refer to themselves in that way. But no, there wasn't necessarily would you pick East Ridge versus Skyline versus, that type of thing.
Wilson Academy.
Wilson Academy of Excellence.
Drama.
But just a point of clarification in terms of board policy, but that is a couple of the steps that would still need to be considered in terms of making it formal that
Is there a
Ridge
reason that we need to
would
wait?
be the name,
or-
so.
So is it pretty much assumed that that's the name of the school since it came out? It seems like that's what rose to the top and that's what people are thinking. Is anyone?
So is there a reason we should wait? I mean, do we have to? What do you think?
For the actual name, that's the board's prerogative. You could
I mean, I
take
don't
action
know.
on that this evening. I would suggest, as far as the name is concerned, sooner than
Yeah.
later, for all the reasons we know that goes into the building process, but.
I'd like to know how many community has really been involved in knowing it's at East Ridge.
It's part of the survey, and it was shared at
That wasn't that many, 100?
no, but it was shared at in terms of respondents, but it was shared at the parent-teacher conferences as well.
The name and the mascot.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, if that helps. It has been circulated among the
Well,
community.
and very often if they disagree, that you would hear that,
Yeah.
but you haven't heard,
What kind of raptor? Is it a Palasa raptor?
Oh, yeah.
Or a bird of prey?
Falcon would be a raptor,
A falcon is a raptor.
but it's not the Utah raptor. Thankfully extinct. There's some latitude there.
Superintendent, if I may, that is a fair question and actually has come up before. So yes, to clarify, we are talking about the dinosaur variety raptor, not the bird of prey raptor. Also, if anyone or had been wondering, I thought it might come up, but hasn't yet. As far as the color scheme, it was decided best to continue forward with the same or similar color scheme for construction in the new facility, and then same would go with the mascot. So the intent is whether Raptors or remaining with Falcons, we would remain with that same red, white, black color scheme.
So board members, I'm curious to know your thoughts. What should we do? If we don't make a decision tonight, it'd probably be wise that in 2 weeks when we have our work session, that we have an action item that we would vote on at that point in time. Do you feel like you need more information with regards to excuse me, A, the school, and B, the mascot?
Yes.
So we've got one yes on both?
Tonight?
Yeah, hold off
Okay.
until work session.
Okay.
And what do you want to, in the meantime,
Well, I haven't heard either way in the area, so I'd like to solicit a response myself of some of this.
You want to direct staff in any, in the 2 weeks regarding the name?
It's a good question.
I would like to see us gather some information from like the community council or PTA, ask them to, unless we do a formal survey or something, I don't know. I kind of feel the same way Doug does. I haven't heard any comment or conversation about a name or anything, so I'm not sure how many people are aware.
and give them a timeline?
Can we do that, Jer, in 2 weeks?
Absolutely, that is definitely feasible.
Okay, well, we've got 2 board members and that's plenty that would like additional information and maybe to look at some of your reports of your surveys and get that out. And I think it's wise, as Jen mentioned, the PTA, the community council, some of their feedbacks as well, so.
So everybody's on board.
Yep. We'll do that. If you get that to us enough, we'll make sure that on the November 5th meeting, we will have an action item for specifically the name and mascot of the new school, and the East Ridge area of Ogden. Okay, thank you, Jer, appreciate that. 10B. There's a new course at Ogden High School, and it appears that we're going to talk about it. And Tim Peters, are you there? Yep,
I
there he
am.
is. All right. Tim, lead us in this.
Thank you. Thank you, Board President, members of the board, Superintendent. Yes, Ogden High School and the Career and Technical Education Department would like to offer a new course for next year called Medical Forensics. And I'm going to present to you the information. So we'll just kind of start off with the background, the course history. This is a course that we've run for several years at Ogden High School under the science department, under forensic science. So forensics means the scientific means to analyze physical crime evidence. And that's been taught by Liz Wheeler at Ogden High School. Liz has been able to earn the endorsements to be able to offer this as a CTE course, which brings funding, and it also aligns to our CTE pathways. So there's opportunities for students to earn CTE pathway completion and move on to endorsements. And so the CTE course description, so USB has created the CTE version of the course. And as you can see, this is where students learn to identify, analyze, and process using deductive reasoning and problem solving. So they're going to get into, you could see those elements that are there, those laboratory skills and safety. So they get into all the different elements of health science and what we had discussed before. This is a year-long course and is worth one credit. So the exciting thing about making a CTE course, it also comes with additional CTE add-on dollars, which generates revenue to so the students can do lab work and pay for all those toys that we love to use in CTE. And this is another course adding to, as you remember, Ogden High School's Health Science Pathways was the Utah Excellence in Action Award winners last year for our pathways. We're actually strengthening it, getting better. The team last year, we had 2.5 teachers, FTE. We've gone to at Ogden High 3 full-time teachers with Megan Mickelson going full-time, and then Liz Wheeler adding a course. So this is really exciting to work. And just a reminder, Utah Excellent Action Award, this is kind of like the Stanley Cup of the CTE Award. So this is important to show the evidence of awesome things happening at in our CTE programs related to pathways. One thing I did want to show you, and here's the pathway for health science. You can see those elements. This course would fit under the concentrators. So in order for a student to earn a CTE pathway, they earn 3 credits, and they start off with an Explorer course. They pick any of those 4 that are listed, and then the concentrated courses, so we'll add that this course to that element. And then one thing I did want to show you that's exciting this year, if you go to our CTE homepage on the district page and scroll down, we've gone from our pamphlet, because we have 21 pathways, and it's gone to a pathway booklet. And Christine Heslop helped put these pieces together. This is a helpful tool to help explain with our counselors and our parents what it is, our pathways. And if we skip down to the health science pathway, which I just showed you prior, page 31 here, is they have those lists of those courses, but what's awesome about this booklet, it actually explains, like, if you want to pursue a 1-year certificate, what are the opportunities for our students, like a CNA, a clinical lab technician, moving on to a 2-year, whether they want to go into to be a registered nurse. It has elements of our HOSA, which is our student CTSO program. So it gives lots of different information there. But what we're excited is we want this course approved so we can provide more opportunities for our kids. A lot of them are taking it, but would bring some added funding and then add to the pathway. Any questions?
Well done. I mean, I'd like to see a copy of that booklet. Is it?
Yeah.
That sounds
That's what I was
impressive.
gonna ask. I was gonna
Yeah,
ask
so
if
you
we
can,
could get a little copy sent to me.
yes, and if you go to our website, it's right there. And to find it, all you have to do is if you go to the,
Hey, Tim,
if you just go to the Ogden webpage CTE and it's there, but I can forward a copy of that booklet to each of you if you'd like.
That'd be great.
They forward it and
Okay.
or share your screen, board president, if you want to, or just forward it. I mean, you can share your screen, how to get there, but I'll leave that to you.
I'll let
Or
'em
just,
forward.
just an email.
Yeah.
Okay, just forward it, please.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Looks good.
good,
Thank you.
yeah.
So we need a
So I
motion
guess
to
this is-
approve this
Mhm.
course addition to Ogden High School.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Board Member Doug Barker. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Nancy Blair, second. Those in favor of approving this medical forensics course at Ogden High School, please say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
I
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make sure now I look at my notes to see what's next. Yeah. We're down to Joyce and Jessica and helping us with our first readings of all of those policy revisions that we're trying to improve ourselves or for our district.
Hey, Don,
Yes.
excuse me, before we go on to that, the thought that just came to my mind on this, where Tim was presenting that. Do we have other pathways that show that type of detail of whatever, for these careers that they have? Is there a lot more of those type?
I believe the booklet, Tim, tell them, did you hear the question?
I did. So I'll, let me show you, share my screen one more time.
I think
So
that's more exciting to see some of that instead of.
yeah, let me kind of walk you through those, Doug, what those are. So if you go to our website and you go over to learning, the learning page, and scroll down to career and technical education, that'll take you to our site. And on the site, we have our CTE data at a glance. This tells you information about concurrent enrollment numbers, number of students completing pathways, students earning industry certificates. That's in this document. And then this document here is the pathways booklet that we created. And if I scroll through like the first one, you have food science, dietetics, that information that's there. And there's 21 of these pathways, like our CAD architectural design. And each program has different strengths. So like at Ben Lomond, we have a very strong engineering program. We have 2 full-time instructors there. The construction program. So if I'm going into architectural design, I can take construction technology. I could take then the CAD courses, and I can complete that pathway. And then the CTE internships. And the CTE internships, that's also exciting. We'll put it in, we're going to be sharing it in our district bulletin. We have 2 students who are actually at Polk Elementary working with used construction as an internship at the construction site. But again, as you scroll through these, are all the various programs.
They're waived if it's
That's
for
great, Tim.
educational purposes.
That's what I wanted to hear, so that's really good, thanks.
So all those are contained in the booklet, it appears. Fantastic.
Yeah, they're all in the booklet. We used to have a brochure. It was a 2-pager. It became a trifold, and then it became a quad fold, and then just got so big because of the pathways we're expanding. But we wanted to give folks more information about those pathways, not just the courses, but what is the job outlook? What are the degrees that students can pursue?
That's great.
Thank you, Tim.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you.
Good question. Now we'll divert back to Jessica, item 10F. We'll walk through again those.
Yeah, okay. Fantastic. So we've got some first readings on for recommendation for some revisions. The first one is public participation in board meetings. The suggestion is we would like to make it more friendly for public participation. So there's some recommendations there. We've received some information to take back to our policy and law committee for some additional revisions. But that's where we're at with the first reading. We do want to make it more friendly for the public to be able to participate in our board meetings. And we have been doing some processes to allow that to occur. We just need to make sure that it's documented in our policy so that our community knows how to participate. Any questions on that one?
Jess, that sounds good. I just asked Joyce to kind of lead this discussion, so if you want to ask anything, you address anything to Joyce as vice chair and over the committee. And
oh, great. Thank you.
And I guess I just had a thought. Yeah, I guess I did have a thought.
Document that on this night.
That maybe it wouldn't hurt once this policy is finalized to share it with all the PTAs, the community councils, and school administrations. That if anybody does have an issue, they may take it to a school administrator first or a friend that they know is involved in PTA or community council. Okay, just back to you.
Next one.
The safety.
All right. So for the safety program, this comes about from a recommendation from risk management to include some pretty strict policies on when we utilize motorized equipment so that we're not putting our students at risk or in harm's way. So this has been a work in progress, and now we have some revisions that we would like to implement so that we can ensure the safety of our students when things are being used, such as the lawnmowers, snow blowers, anything that could be harmful to a student.
Sounds good.
Hey, I didn't notice if there were any comments regarding this policy. So hopefully we'll be able to move that up for a second reading.
This one was okay.
Easily next month.
Maybe snow removal then.
Yeah.
All right, so then the third one is up for review, but there are some comments, so we'll take that back to look at it. We try and we strive to review policies so that we don't have 10-year-old or 12-year-old policies that haven't been reviewed. So the Policy and Law Committee's made a concerted effort this year to map out and outline when we're going to review policies and then bring them to the board to let everyone know the committee's looked at them, and then either make a recommendation to revise them or just bring awareness that they've been reviewed. In this case, we were initially bringing awareness. There is a recommendation, so we're going to take it back to the committee to review it again.
Thank you.
Including public participation, cover that one.
Yeah.
Okay. So all of those items, we're okay to ask for a motion to approve on a first reading. And those 2 or 3 that had comments, we'll go back to committee for the second. All right. Thank you, Jessica, and thank you, Joyce, for that. So if that's where we stand and everyone's okay with that as members of the board, then let's search for or look for a motion to approve those action items that are listed under board policy revisions first reading.
I motion to approve these with noted comments and concerns for review in our next committee meeting.
Fantastic. As Joyce just said, that's her motion, including changes or amendments as discussed. Are there any, or amendments not the right word?
This is Jeremy, I'll second.
Thank you. Got it. Obviously, Jeremy and Joyce know what I'm talking about, so we'll run with that. The motion's been made and the second. Those in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. Appreciate that. And I think our last item now is, everyone grab your hand sanitizer because now we're going to have a little discussion on keeping Ogden healthy update. Oh, what? Did I
But
skip
I'm
one?
happy to go in the order you would like. The James Madison.
Madison Land Trust.
I think we moved that up to
moved that to
consent calendar.
Thank you. You are correct.
That's all right.
Grab your hand sanitizer. Just information on keeping Ogden healthy, just a few updates. One, our current numbers as of earlier today, we have 19 active COVID positive cases in the district with 257 quarantined students. That's any student that has been exposed to someone who has tested positive for COVID-19. Some of those occur in our schools when someone tests positive there. Many of them occur outside of school, in the household, family, friends, etc. Same Department of Health protocols apply. And so with that, we have 84 elementary students on quarantine. That averages about 7 per school. Some schools have, obviously, as an average, that some less, 0 to 3. Others have, more than that in terms of quarantines. And that's 173 secondary students that are in quarantine. And that averages is about 29 students per secondary school.
Superintendent?
Yeah.
So that number's obviously changing every day.
It ebbs and flows. In fact, looking at it, there's several of those quarantine in the secondary that are going to come off out of quarantine tomorrow and the next day. But of course, then some others get added. Right?
So on Wednesday when we met,
16.
yeah, there were 16
cases.
cases. We've got 3 additional cases, but it was 300 kids quarantined, so we dropped off 40 kids in a couple of days.
It does. It ebbs and flows. And with that, it presents challenges. And we're constantly monitoring what that effect is on students, of course, but also our teachers. They have a very heavy lift. As you can imagine, students are, particularly in the, K-12. Board Member Barker knows this. You might have all of your kids in the class for one day, and the next day you don't. And you're still looking to provide educational services for the children that are in quarantine. And of course, it's a heavy toll, and it's a lot of work. But we're monitoring those conditions and the work experience of our employees, and are constantly looking at how might we improve that. So we are honoring our employees as professionals, and at the same time meeting the needs of our students. So as we look at that, we'll continue to evaluate that and make recommendations as necessary, either procedurally or as we take a look at it for board consideration as well. We did, there was on October 8th, a release from the Utah Department of Health via the Utah State Board of Education regarding some adjusted quarantine protocols. As it has been, if someone is exposed to someone who is tested positive for COVID-19, they automatically went into a 14-day quarantine. The new health guidance, again, coming from the Utah Department of Health, is if a student who is wearing a mask, there's a few provisions here. If the student that tested positive is wearing a mask and the person that was exposed is also wearing a mask and it occurred in a classroom setting, and the student who was exposed receives a negative COVID positive test, negative COVID test. Oh, I should drink that water. Anyway, then they can return to school after that 7 days and not 14 days. So there is a provision there, and the science behind that has suggested that after that 7th day, and the COVID test will pick up a positive result 2 days prior before a person would begin to exhibit symptoms. And for that, after that 7th or 9th day, there's less than there's a 90+% chance that a person would not at that point get COVID. So it is based on the science, and again, our state epidemiologist pushing this forward, saying if we follow that and the protocols are met, a student would be able to come back to school earlier than 14 days, which would be of benefit to the student and dare I say, our educators as well, so they're not trying to also meet the needs of students virtually as much. But to be determined, like I said, there's a few ifs that have to be met in order for that to even apply. As you may have heard, Weber County itself has moved to the high transmission status under the new protocols. For school districts, the guidance is that we, even under that designation, for us, it's business as we have been conducting it with our current safety protocols, meaning we follow the Utah Department of Health's COVID-19 school guidance document for operating schools in the pandemic. So we're just encouraged to do that. And of course, masks, which hasn't changed in our schools. We still follow those protocols. So while the county has moved into that space, our school district has already taken all the necessary precautions to make sure that we're offering as safely as possible, regardless of the switches in transitions. So if we were to move back to moderate, we're still maintaining our alignment to the Utah Department of Health COVID-19 school manual. Even if it is moderate, we're still operating under the same conditions. And I would foresee and anticipate us doing that for the remainder of this school year. So even though there's a shift, we are still in very much compliance with the Utah Department of Health's guidance.
Are you making some sort of like charts and, showing the cases and, like we could see if, did you say 19? How many cases active?
19, we have 19 active cases as of today.
Is that higher than we've been, or have we?
It's actually a little bit lower than we've been. It's higher than any of us want it to be. But as was mentioned earlier in the week, it was 16, and we're at 19 today. But we've been as high into the 20s last week, the week before, and so it kind of ebbs and flows. I will say we are very grateful for the hard work going on in the schools to make sure that, and the community, for keeping the transmission rates down. We are not seeing as many cases, positive cases, as other places in the state, other schools and districts in the state. So we're feeling very fortunate, knowing though that we're still taking every precaution to make sure that there isn't that spread. But it's a virus, it's unpredictable. All we can do is mitigate its spread, and really appreciate schools.
Are we seeing a certain group or, grade that's seeing more of it than others? Are you seeing that?
To a certain extent, and to that point, our data is following a lot of what we're seeing statewide, where it's that 14 to 18 age group that typically is seeing it more than at the elementary level. And so we're seeing it in more secondary settings than we are elementary, although we still have elementary cases.
Typically, are the cases, the active cases, are they just running their course and back to school? Have we had any put in the hospital? How severe is it hitting these kids?
So for the kids, I am not aware of any hospitalizations, gratefully, at this point. Now, if there have been and it hasn't been reported to me, I am not aware of any hospitalizations of our students. And so, again, we're grateful for that. And we're not letting down our guard because we can't afford to. We want to be able to keep our schools open, providing that service to our students, and making sure, and gratefully so, if you were to do the math, right, the numerator and the denominator of all students and staff in the district, we're still serving well over 99%. In fact, I think we're at 0.12%, maybe a little higher, a little bit higher, 0.17%, 0.17% of 1% that have been affected at this point in current operations. So well over 99%, which is wonderful for the right reasons. But we still take each case very, very serious and recognize the potential consequences that any one case can have on any one individual.
I'm grateful for our schools, especially all of our schools, but secondary in particular, that are seeing school in quarantine and teams forfeiting, and that's not a good way to end your career in high school sports. So grateful that they tend to be, obviously they're doing what they should be doing to avoid some of that.
Yeah, like I said, yes, we are very fortunate that we have not had to move into a school quarantine and/or to see some of the significant disruptions to some of the extracurricular activities that other schools have experienced. But as usual, I will continue to keep the board abreast of any changes that would affect any of our schools. That concludes my keeping Ogden healthy.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. We appreciate those who've joined us this evening in person or virtually, those who've taken part during our meeting. I see Jessica and Tim's faces up there, so I'm going to say thanks to them. And if I forgot someone, sorry about that. Grateful for the reports and hope that everybody will continue to stay healthy and safe in Ogden. And with that, we'll adjourn our board meeting for October.